Hey everyone, Matron here, bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary, this time another game featuring vile Spanishiwa spawning as the blue Zerg, and his opponent this time will be ThisIsJimmy spawning as the red Terran. We are on Scrap Station. This is a ladder match, as you see the two players greeting each other, saying we meet again. Not really sure what happened in the first match. I believe ThisIsJimmy cast a game against vile Spanishiwa just a few weeks ago. I imagine he casted a win because that's just my impression of the types of games he's going to cast of himself. So perhaps Spanishiwa looking for a bit of revenge here. And we are on a map where it can be difficult to take a third as a Zerg. When StarCraft 2 first started out, everybody thought this was a very Zerg favored map just because you're able to get out this second. But as the game became more about macro games and not just two-basing, Zerg started to realize that this third can be very difficult to take just because it's so close to the Terran third. If the Terran puts up a planetary fortress and starts getting siege tanks here, your third can be very vulnerable. So we'll see how this one plays out. Spanishiwa, pretty famous at this point. I guess he's been getting a lot of press and pub recently on Reddit, Team Liquid, etc. for his gasless openings, his mass queen and spinecrawler openings. So we'll see what variation he goes with here. He tends to like to go with a rather late expansion in terms of food count, typically going for a 16 hatch, as we see he might be preparing for that right now. And then he goes for a pool immediately afterwards. So down goes the hatch, and the pool will be thrown up with his next 100 or 200 minerals. ThisIsJimmy just getting out his initial barracks at the start here. This is a very wide ramp, so it's difficult to wall off for Terran and Protoss. But Spanishiwa not coming with too much pressure. He's got a very late pool here. He won't have speed out because he doesn't go for gas in the early going. So ThisIsJimmy is going to be pretty safe, and it looks like he's going to forego that initial marine, and he's actually going to get out a tech lab. So we'll see whether he's going to start an early research here. Again, just starting to get some gas and stim after 1.3 takes a very long time, 170 seconds, so almost 3 full minutes, little less in game time. So Terrans are having to delay that first stim push, and we'll see what he's going to go for. It looks like a Reaper coming out for ThisIsJimmy, and this can be pretty good on Scrap Station. There's a lot of different areas where the Reaper can jump up, really cause havoc for a Zerg player. It looks like a bunker going down for ThisIsJimmy, and a drone trying to chase away this SCV. That bunker is not going to be able to finish in time, and looks like Spanishiwa will be able to defend against this bunker Reaper push. This is a pretty strong play if you're able to get this bunker up and get the Reaper inside of it. Just because of the initial units that Zerg has, they can't take down that bunker with Zerglings because the Reaper, basically two-shot Zerglings, does a lot of extra damage against those light units. So we see Spanishiwa actually coming out with a few Zerglings here. Looks like we will have 4 total, and playing Ring Around the Rosie with this SCV. Again, they do not have speed, and here comes the Reaper. ThisIsJimmy going to do his best to keep that SCV alive, and it will be alive, so we actually may be able to finish this bunker, and this could spell trouble for Spanishiwa. He's just got these few extra Zerglings, and he's trying to get down his spine, but that won't be able to finish if he focuses it down. Again, the Reaper's doing a lot of extra damage against structures, doing 30 damage every 1.8 seconds. So this bunker looks like that SCV was able to be taken down, perhaps by that queen, and now the first 2 queens out for Spanishiwa. He's got another 2 on the way, and just droning up very hard here. It is 20 to 19 harvester-wise, a second Reaper coming in. ThisIsJimmy doing his best to try to focus down on the queens. The queens off creep very slow. They cannot engage these Reapers. And the Reapers have pretty good range here of 4.5, and the Queen's range is only 3 on the ground, so the Reapers are going to be able to dart in, get a few pot shots at the Queens. At this point though, there are 3 Queens that are gaining energy. Spanishiwa likes to save up energy at the very start, does not spread too much creep, though we do see that he has a tumor working between his main and natural. That can be very good, almost necessary at this point if you're dealing with this sort of harass. You want to be able to get your units quickly between your main and your natural. A great transfuse going off there as that queen was quite low and just droning up very hard. I believe he's got this under control. He's added his 4 gas to this point, not yet saturated the 3rd and 4th yet here. And now maybe transitioning to some sort of lair tech. Down goes 1 Reaper. ThisIsJimmy not doing very much damage. Another Reaper comes in. and just doing their best to soften up some of these queens. I believe if he's able to get down a queen, he may think this is a victory, but at this point the Reapers have 0 kills. They've done a little bit of damage, but the queens regen health. They've got the extra energy here for transfuse. Back in the base of ThisIsJimmy, as more of that's going on, he has gotten up an orbital command, so he will be preparing an expansion here, and he's getting up a tech lab on a factory, so I imagine he will be going for either Blue Flame or some sort of siege tech. Blue Flame might be a little bit late at this point, as speed could be on the way for Zerg shortly. Looks like the lair about 1/3 of the way done, and just watching these Reapers, they're so ineffective. Spanishiwa doing a nice job. He might lose a queen here. They're doing a nice job moving that queen that's very low to the back, and now getting up a spine crawler or two as well. And continuing to drone, let's check out the income. It is 49 to 32. So completely ineffective. These Reapers, they have 0 kills amongst them. Some of them very low on health, and finally getting a creep tumor. Some sort of positive damage for ThisIsJimmy. Some more transfuses going off, and these 3 queens just being awesome here and totally denying any sort of harassment here for ThisIsJimmy. He did kill that creep tumor, so the queens are going to be pretty slow off of creep here. It looks like he's dropping a bit of creep, and he might be able to move up here and try to take down these Reapers. ThisIsJimmy using a lot of APM on this attack, and it's just really ineffective. I'd like to see him perhaps transition to something else, as one of the queens very low again, and now the creep has been spread. The queens might be able to close the distance here if the Reapers are not careful and jump down. Looks like another Reaper going down, and ThisIsJimmy able to escape here. But if we check the losses, it is 450 to 250, and what you wanted to do as a Terran is harass your Zerg opponent so he can't get up a 10 drone lead on you. As now Spanishiwa does have up his lair, he's got up his first evolution chamber, working on the carapace. It looks like he has done no scouting so far, though he does have an overseer in position. He's going to see this orbital command moving down. He's going to see the transfer of drones as well, adding the 3rd and 4th gas, and he's going to be able to see the siege tank already in siege mode here, as well as the number and count of Marines. He's probably going to feel pretty good, as ThisIsJimmy does not have a big enough army to push out at this point, and he's going to know that he can continue to drone up. It looks like he's going to be taking a 3rd. If we check the army counting station, it is 1250 to 925. And it looks like he's going to be able to clean up this last Reaper and take this watchtower. One more Reaper at the southern watchtower here. And at this point, Spanishiwa has map control. He's been able to wrestle it back from ThisIsJimmy. ThisIsJimmy not really putting up much of a fight, as he just had those Reapers. But if he's able to push out with these siege tanks and more Marines, he could make it interesting for Spanishiwa. The 3rd almost about done here. If we check the production tab, it looks like we have 4 infestors, as well as the pathogen glands, and a few more Zerglings, actually quite a few Zerglings on the way. Queen making her way down to this 3rd, doing a nice job dropping a little bit of creep, going to make it a little bit easier on her. And still doing nice scouting here with this Overseer, actually doing a nice job using the Contaminate on the shield upgrade there. So as ThisIsJimmy pushes out, he's not going to have the extra 10 health. Got a lot of Banelings about to finish here. Great fungals going down on those Marines, and they're just crushed under those Zerglings. The fungals do so much damage to the Marines without the shield upgrade. And now Spanishiwa going to move and take care of these siege tanks. They're going to have to unsiege and retreat, as they have no Marine support. And unburrowing there, getting a fungal off. And down go all those siege tanks to these Zerglings. And now Spanishiwa might be able to put a bit of pressure. ThisIsJimmy just has a few Marines and 1 siege tank here. If he's able to crash the front door, he could end this right now. Jimmy not even in this bunker. If we check the army counting station, it is 2,500 to 650. So Spanishiwa really needs to take advantage of this. He's got the Overseer in here. Looks like he's going to be doing another Contaminate, but he does not see how little army is left for ThisIsJimmy. Jimmy doing a pretty poor job macroing here behind that initial Reaper attack. I'm not sure why he added the 4th and the 5th Reaper there, as it put him pretty far behind on Marine count and siege tank count, and then pushing out there, and Fungal was already up, losing a ton of Marines there, and at this point he is way far behind. If we check the income counting station, it is 61 to 48, adding a 5th and 6th gas, and it looks like he's working on the backdoor rocks here, as well as getting up the gold. So Spanishiwa taking the entire map here, working on the rocks down here. I'm not sure if he's going to go for some sort of 7-base player. Now it looks like ThisIsJimmy going to perhaps be pushing out once again. And he's got a bunch of tanks here, but he's going to be moving into these banelings. Banelings with speed could perhaps chase down the Marines there. Now the Infester's in prime position to get a nice fungal off on these grouped up Marines. Looks like instead they might be going for some sort of infested Terran play. Spanishiwa really likes to throw infested Terran here, and then the siege tanks take a lot of self-damage as they just shell each other. And down go 3 siege tanks, a 4th one almost low. And here come the Zerglings to clean up, a fungal going off, pretty ineffective. But at this point, ThisIsJimmy just being massacred by the wave after wave of Zerglings, and now pushing in perhaps into the main. Just 2 siege tanks and the bunker here. Vile Spanishiwa going to be doing a ton of damage. If a fungal is able to take on these Marines, it could be GG. Great Baneling play there, taking down all those Marines, but unfortunately losing all of his Zerglings there, so he's not able to continue this assault. But he will be able to get up this gold. He's going to be on 4 bases with a gold. He's got these Infestors, one with 11 kills, one with 1 kill, and the other with 8 kills. So pretty effective Infestors there, and I love the way he uses those infested Marines, or this infested Terran, to take on those siege tanks, make them work against each other. And just because at this point Terrans have learned to spread out those siege tanks to make them less vulnerable to run-bys and attacks, but that actually works against them when you're thinking about infested Terran, because the siege tanks will start shelling each other to take down those eggs, and they basically just destroy each other, and without any sort of cost to the Zerg player. As we see, ThisIsJimmy trying to get up a 3rd. He's going to want to come down here and set up that planetary fortress and that siege wall like I talked about at the very start, and then just start pressuring the middle of the Zerg player. And once he's able to get to this middle, he's going to be able to cut off the gold from any sort of reinforcements, and then he's going to be able to push up into the natural. So we'll see whether Jimmy is able to do that. He is down right now, 139 to 120. I'd imagine he'd be down quite a bit more. He's actually down about 30 harvesters, so if you think army-wise, the armies are pretty similar if you don't count the harvesters. It is 3,000 to just 2,300, doing a nice scan there, taking down those burrowed banelings. Spanishiwa has a few more, and before the tanks can get into siege mode, moving in here with all these Zerglings, and throwing down some infested Terran once again. The Marines doing their best to kite away from the Banelings and Zerglings, but huge Baneling damage, taking down all those Marines. Just a handful of Marines left. Again, he's got quite a few tanks, but they are very low after shelling themselves, and the Zerglings were able to make it in there. But 325 down to the army for Spanishiwa. He's got some very low Infestors here. Looks like he lost that hero Infestor with the 12 kills, and now he is he's under siege here from ThisIsJimmy. He's got this siege line set up. If we check the production tab, it looks like we have a Greater Spire on the way, as well as the chitinous plating for Ultralisks. The unit counting station, we have 2 Ultras out, so Spanishiwa is able to break this line, getting in here with a few Zerglings, but I'm not sure he's going to have enough to take on all of these siege tanks. Some siege tanks from behind as well, and it looks like Banelings making their way, wasting a little bit of Banelings on these siege tanks. And Jimmy's coming with more and more tanks. He does not have a lot of Marines here to support these tanks, though. The tanks are unsieged. They are going to be able to take down that Ultralisk. That's a lot of flesh and blood there. It looks like it's going to be disappearing shortly into the nether. So ThisIsJimmy was able to take down a few of those spine crawlers, and now Vile Spanishiwa has been in control of this game the entire time, but Jimmy may be reversing this if he's able to get a few more Marines here, get a nice spread so the Marines are not too vulnerable to that fungal growth and Banelings. But Spanishiwa with a superior economy, 2,000 to just 7,600 or 760, now 900 for ThisIsJimmy. So he's going to be able to come out with more and more units, but this siege line is going to be difficult to take on. He's going to get a tower down here, or a missile turret, and that's going to give him detection, so the Infestor cannot get in and do any sort of infested Terran play. So ThisIsJimmy at this point has gotten up this 3rd. It is a planetary fortress, going to be very difficult to break. And now moving down here with some Marines, he's going to know the gold bases here. Reacting pretty late here with spine crawlers. Marines getting in here with a stim, and they're going to try to take down this queen and all of these drones. Not too many Zerglings, and now Vile Spanishiwa caught horribly out of position. Going to have to move his entire army down here. And this is Jimmy, as Spanishiwa moves down to react to this, might be able to push in and get a better siege position on that third, as Spanishiwa moves in with all of his Zerglings, a few Ultras, and again, he's got these Infestors that he's just saving up energy, and it looks like this is Jimmy going to do just that, getting great position here with these siege tanks. He's going to be able to start shelling this third. Again, poking in here with these Zerglings, setting up a fifth at this point. And he's got decent saturation. Again, still a lot of Harvesters, 84 to 54. Now pushing in here with Broodlords as well, and the Broodlords are going to try to break this tank line, getting down those Broodlords, or the Broodlings. A great fungal there, taking on all of those Marines, and just not enough Marines here for This Is Jimmy. He's got the siege tanks in position, could perhaps keep pushing forward a little bit, and he's done a nice job keeping these low siege tanks in the back. But these Broodlords are basically the anti-siege tanks. The Broodlings moving in here. They're going to take a lot of friendly fire as you see those Marines go down, and that was mostly to tank fire. Looking at the upgrades on these Broodlings, they're going to do 7 damage every 0.65 seconds. They also stay up for about 8 seconds, so they do quite a bit of damage. And now we see the Zerglings moving into this planetary fortress. Just a wave of Zerglings moving over all these siege tanks, and this might be it for This Is Jimmy, as the Zerglings and Banelings able to take down the planetary fortress there and all the SCVs that were trying to repair it. And This Is Jimmy going down to Spanishiwa. A very ineffective play with Reapers at the start. This Is Jimmy not doing a very good job. He didn't take down many drones or Zerglings. Couldn't get a queen either. And then Spanishiwa is just able to drone up behind that. And then he actually pushed out. He was able to kind of get into the almost into the base of This Is Jimmy with that great Zergling and Baneling play, but sort of lost his entire army. That is the one trouble with Zerglings and Banelings, is they tend to evaporate, and even if you make a pretty good trade with your opponent, you just cannot continue the assault. But Spanishiwa did a nice job macroing up the entire time. I got a little bit worried there when Jimmy was able to get that good position, but his macro was behind the entire game, and he just did not have enough Marines. Didn't have any medevacs either, so those Stim Marines, very vulnerable to those Banelings, and he just didn't have enough stuff, as simple as it could sound there. And even though he had decent position there, he was able to take out on that gold a little bit, get it down quite low. In the end, Spanishiwa, with his huge drone and his mass queen build, able to take down another strong top of the ladder Terran opponent. If you're looking for more Spanishiwa or StarCraft 2 action in general, make sure you check out my channel Matron StarCraft at youtube.com. Thanks for watching this one. Take care.